Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
What's your outlet?
Welcome to I'll Hang Up and Listen. I am Duane, the host of Two Goalies, One Mike. Here, obviously, to talk about tonight's 5-4 victory by the Buffalo Sabres over the Washington Capitals, featuring 3 goals from Tage Thompson for his 30th of the season, for his third hat trick of the season on the 3rd of January, to transition from that with all the threes into the most important thing that we're going to talk about is Damar Hamlin and what we all witnessed last night during Monday Night Football. Not too far into the first quarter. Last night when he collapsed on the field after taking a hit to the chest from wide receiver T. Higgins. Throughout the day, last night, we've always known Bills Mafia, the city, not just Bills, but the city of Buffalo itself is one big community, one huge family. And one thing I've really learned over the last 24 hours is how ingrained with both, not just, the Bills, the Sabres, how ingrained we are with these teams, like how much a part of our DNA these teams are. And everybody who wears that jersey, how proud we are that they represent us. So in turn, that makes us feel like that they're part of our family. And I think that sentiment is echoed over and over and over again over the last 24 hours. Just, you see, the tweets, the posts, just people, speaking out on how they feel about the situation, showing their just purest form of emotion over what Damar Hamlin and his family, both his direct family and extended family in the Bills, are going through right now. And it's been very difficult to be a part of this because at the end of at the end of the day, they are, yes, they are football players, they're paid athletes, yes, 100%. But at the end of the day, they're human beings with families that they go home to every single day. But for some of these athletes, even maybe their family isn't there, and these teammates, these players, us as fans, we're their family. So for us to show this immense amount of support for Damar Hamlin, I will say this: I am proud to be a Buffalonian. I am proud to be a Buffalo Bills fan. I am proud to be a Buffalo Sabres fan. I am proud of this community, and just to see the outpouring just from all over North America. Tom Brady donated $10,000 to his charity. Tom Brady did. I saw Chris Jericho, Hall of Fame, my opinion, my favorite wrestler of all time. It's kind of funny. He donated $5,000. He misspelled his name during his donation. He said CHRUS instead of IS. So it's, just leaving well enough alone. He donated an additional $5,000 and spelled his name correctly. So it's wild, just to see the outpouring of support from everybody around North America, the country, the world, for Damar Hamlin and his family. Because, I would love to see the reaction of Damar when he's told, when he does pull through this. I believe, if anything, tonight's performance from Tage Thompson, make how it makes me feel. with him again getting his 30th goal, getting 3 goals for his 30th goal, his third hat trick of the season at the 3-minute mark of overtime on the 3rd of January. If there's anything to me that says to me is that he's going to pull through this. He's going to make a full recovery, and I would love to see the reaction, that he'll have when people tell him, not just Bills Mafia, but the world donated this. It was last time it was well over $5 million for his toy drive. And it's just so heartwarming. But I also, not to step away from the subject, but there is a family out there. I know there was a foundation or a GoFundMe started by a man named Duane Price for a family in Buffalo who lost 5 children in a house fire. I know with obviously what happened to Damar Hamlin last night, kind of being at the top of everybody's, timeline here in Buffalo, especially if you haven't had an opportunity to look at that, I encourage anybody to go donate to that family. Losing 5 children in a house fire, I can't even fathom what that's like. I mean, we've been through a lot the past year in Buffalo between, what happened on May 14th to, this with Damar Hamlin, the blizzard, the house fire. I think Buffalo's been through a lot over the last year. And if we can make this family's life just financially a little bit better, I really wish we would. We've shown we do it before in the past. Last time I looked, the GoFundMe was up to $45,000, but I know this community can do better. So please do whatever you can to help them. Again, you can check out my social media platform on Twitter at DuaneS39. I've posted it a couple times. It's a GoFundMe account created by Duane Price. So, and I'll post it again after this. I'll put it in the comments underneath this on this tweet. But regardless, like I just said, any thoughts? I'll open up the peanut gallery here in a second. Any thoughts on Damar Hamlin? Again, I tweeted out the link for YouTube and those watching on Facebook. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the situation. And, I'm not a religious person at all, like literally at all. But I prayed today for Damar Hamlin. I prayed for I prayed for that family, that they'll all pull through this. So, really tough times, for everybody involved. And, my thoughts, go out to them because, we're one big family, we're one big community, and what affects one of us affects all of us. And again, as I said to start the show, that's just the one thing that I feel was echoed through all of this is, and I had a friend actually, send me a message, and they said, I live on the other side of the country, and I was wearing my Bills jersey today, and I had strangers coming up to me and talking to me and telling me how brave I am, and this and that. I said I just didn't feel like I was worthy of all this, and she goes, I was emotional to start, and this is just I don't want to tell these people that to back off. I'm gracious for what they're saying, but I'm an emotional wreck over this whole thing. But like just to see like what this team is for us, what we mean to them, and how it's ingrained in everything. The Bills Mafia, I think, has been reverberated. The meaning behind it and the value and what it means to us as fans, it is absolutely echoed over the last 24 hours more than ever before. That we feel like they're part of our family. Again, I everything I've seen on social media, everything I've seen from talking or heard from talking to friends and coworkers today is just, what that team means to the people of Buffalo. And when you put on that jersey, or, past, present, or future, that you are one of us, you represent us, and what happens to you happens to us. So, again, my thoughts are to Damar Hamlin and his family. extended family, i.e. the Bills players, and anybody who out there who has taken this very hard. My thoughts are out to you. This has not been an easy 24 hours. So, with that being said, um, hashtag Hamlin strong. I hope we get that. Hope that is trending. And you'll pull through this, man. Like I've seen a lot of stories about you over the last 24 hours, video snippets and videos of who you were even before you were, a Buffalo Bill, and you have a lot left to give in this life. And that's why I know you're going to pull through this, because of the positive individual you are, and that you will still continue to be. So, couple clicks for Damar Hamlin. And knowing that he'll pull through this. And, I know that Fanatics and the NFL have agreed to donate any proceeds for Damar Hamlin jerseys to his foundation, to his toy drive. I'm sure we've all seen the GoFundMe links, somewhere on social media today. So please make sure you support that if you haven't already. And again, support the family who, lost 5 loved ones in a house fire this past week. But the Sabres tonight won again, my opinion, for Damar Hamlin, 5-4 against the Washington Capitals. Honestly, a game that I thought really never, got out of control of Buffalo. I thought that, there are peaks and valleys for sure, but I thought for the most part, Buffalo really controlled the pace of play tonight. Really took it to Washington. At one point up 3-1. At never any point, even when they went down 4-3, did I feel like they were out of this game or they were going to lose. That's just how, they continued to keep their foot on the pedal. And again, every single game you're going to have a few, unless you're Team Germany playing Team USA in the World Juniors where they lost 11-1. There was, a few moments where, oh my God, when I pull this one out, moments where Alex Ovechkin really took over the game. He had 2 goals tonight. But even with that, even with Ovechkin playing as well as he did tonight, the Sabres still, kept their foot on the gas, kept playing their game, kept things simple. And I think tonight really showcased the top line of, Tage Thompson, Alex Tuch, and Jeff Skinner, and how good they are. Specifically, and I'm not trying to take any shine away from Jeff Skinner, but specifically Alex Tuch and Tage Thompson, and how in sync those two are right now. It was fun to watch. We saw the first goal by Alex Tuch, Tage Thompson paying a little homage to Brian Campbell with the spinorama backhand pass to Tuch in front, and he slipped that one by Darcy Kemper. And then Tage Thompson followed right up with a goal off a pass from Alex Tuch. And I believe the third goal was Tage Thompson again, in his office, in Ovi's house, no less, in Ovi's spot, where I'd imagine they'll put a giant 8 once he retires and they retire his number. They'll put an 8 in that spot for his office on each side of the ice. He did it from his office with a 97-mile-an-hour slap shot and absolutely blew it by Darcy Kemper. Again, just Tage really on full display, and I can think continuing to prove to people why, in my opinion, he should be the league MVP this year, especially if this team makes the playoffs. I think both him and even Dahlin, to an extent, proved to be MVP worthy candidates. Dahlin for sure, the Norris, in my opinion. I know Carlson's having a phenomenal year in San Jose, but my opinion, what Dahlin has been doing all season long and his ability to take over games, you can't tell me that guy isn't a front runner for the Norris. Again, that's just my unbiased opinion. I'm really trying to be unbiased with that. But and then obviously Tuch. I'm sorry, not Tuch. Tuch, yeah, an assist from Tuch. Tage finishing it off in overtime in front of the net with a Darcy Kemper, who was pretty much having a garage sale in front of the net. It was all over the place. Finishes off the Capitals in overtime. Just a moment that the city really needed tonight. The people of the city really tonight, I'm not going to sit here and say like, it's a break from what happened last night, but even for just a few hours, it gives us, uh, it gives us not something else to think about, because I think it's impossible not to think. Um, it's not impossible. It's impossible not to think about what happened with, Damar Hamlin, but it kind of gives us a moment of, I can't find the word, but I think you guys know what I'm trying to say. Just a moment that we really needed after last night, seeing a man who for 9 minutes was receiving CPR and had to have an AED performed on field in front of his brothers, grown men weeping around him. I think that moment, that in particular, really, really, you know, stood out the most of that whole situation. And us as fans having to see that, them as teammates and brothers having to see their brother on the ground going through that, his mother in the stands having to see that, tonight, at least for a few hours, gives us a moment that we really needed as a community to feel some positivity, I guess. And again, if you want to feel like what I said to start the show, that it's just, he scored 3 for his 30th on January 3rd for his third hat trick of the season at the 3-minute mark of overtime. If we want to like kind of take that and think like, wow, that's a positive omen. I'm here for it, So I think it's a good sign of things to come, in terms of Damar Hamlin. Again, much love, a lot of love out to him. But the Sabres have just been nothing but rolling, take away that Ottawa game where obviously we lost that. We ran into a hot goaltender in Anton Forsberg. This team has almost seemed unstoppable over the last month taking it, outside of the small break we had to have because of the blizzard here in Buffalo, but they've just been unstoppable. And it's just been a breath of fresh air as a hockey fan. So I'm going to pull up the peanut gallery here and see what everyone comment. Paramount Pictures. All this cannot be a coincidence. 3 goals, third heady, third game of the road trip, 3-minute mark, January 3rd. I agree. I don't think this is a coincidence. I think it's a sign of good things to come. 3 points for Tuck, 3 points for Thompson, third heady of the season for Thompson on January 3rd during 3v3 in OT. We're all finding more threes here. It's nonstop for Thompson's 30th, 3 minutes in OT. What are the chances? I'd say very slim. I don't think it's a coincidence. This all has to mean something special for us, including Damar. I agree. Greg Malcolm, remember when Chris Jericho walked down the ramp in Goat Head away jersey on SmackDown in Dallas after the no goal in 1999? I do remember that. Referring to Chris Jericho, my comments about his donations to Damar Hamlin's toy drive earlier. He made 2 separate donations. He made the first one for $5K, where he accidentally misspelled his own name on the donation, and then he followed up with another 5,000 donations so he could spell his name correctly. Found that kind of funny in a moment of despair. Prayers for Damar Hamlin from Chris Durek. Prayers for Damar Hamlin and his family. Thoughts and prayers are with him. Congrats TNT on 30 for number 3 and 30 on the season. UPL 5 straight wins. Thank God we woke up and came back. # Buffalo strong. Absolutely, bud. And I always appreciate when Chris pops in. I was scared yesterday when Hamlin collapsed in the field. I'm praying for him and his family. Robbie, absolutely. We all are. Thompson gets 30. I'm excited for this season. Yep. He's just been an absolute tear in MVP pace. If this team makes the playoffs, then Granato should win the Jack Adams, and Adams should win GM of the year. I 100% agree. They both should. As well, there should be a long line of Sabres awards at the NHL awards ceremony if this team finds a way to make the playoffs. 100%. So good to see Jost get that goal. Huge goal. Gotta love getting that depth scoring. Absolutely. The kids line wasn't really on their A game tonight. So that third line of Jost, Middlestat, and I think it was Olofsson filled in tonight. Still Olofsson. I know Kyle Quick, shout out to him, messaged me during the overtime period why Olofsson wasn't on, that power play unit. 4-on-4, it's probably because it's 4-on-4, but even so, any power play unit, with an advantage, I have to admit I would like to see Olofsson out there with Tage, because I think you have a two-headed monster that maybe you're not utilizing enough, because you have to respect both shots. So, and it makes it very difficult as for a penalty kill to respect both of those shots, because of, how dangerous they can be from each side. That's just my opinion. And I know it was, shout out to Kyle Quick, his opinion as well. Personally, I feel like shit. Hamlin having big shoes to fill, and Hyde became a whipping boy for performance. I didn't know anything about him personally, but he seems to be a good human being. I mean, Hamlin, had his, I'm not considering to talk about his performance, because that's probably not the time for that. But again, very, like you said, Matt, very big shoes to fill, and he had some great moments out there on the field, where he did play very well. So, I wouldn't say he was a whipping boy by any stretch of the means. So, I believe that Olofsson is a bigger problem than Mitz. I don't disagree with you. I definitely don't disagree with you at all, Greg. Olofsson's problem not being on the ice for the OT is his defensive play. It's a snake bite as trying to force the shots. No, that's why I said, especially being a 4-on-4, I can see that. But any 5-man situation during, period 1 through 3, I'd love to see him out there more, because I think it makes that power of play a little bit more deadly. Even though, the advantage of having your top line out there is Skinner, Tuck, and Tage. I mean, that is a huge advantage as well, because I think they're the best line in hockey right now. But I just, a big win for Buffalo. I think that was their 19th win of the season. I'm going to check that right now. I believe that brings Buffalo. Let's check that right now. They are 19. If they can give me a record here. I want to say that was their 19th win of the season. I'm almost positive. I'm not sure how. Come on. Sorry, guys. Computer's just running a little slow here. Yep, 19, 15, and 2. Now in terms of the standings, that puts Buffalo in 4th place in the Atlantic. They have 36 games played, 1 more game played than Tampa, and 2 less games played than Toronto, 1 less game played less than the Bruins. The Bruins are kind of running away with the division. 62 points. 62 points in 37 games played, with a 29-4-4 record. Just my bananas numbers. But Buffalo still standing strong as the highest scoring team in the NHL, with 143 goals for, 122 against. One of the more draw dropping numbers in terms of Boston, those 83 goals against to Buffalo's 122. Is that kind of saying that Buffalo had a huge lack of goaltending? To a certain extent, yes, a few weeks ago for sure. But that also, in my opinion, was also a big thing with injuries on your blue line. Not having Samuelsson, not having Yoki Haru the first time around, not having Labushkin for a little while. I think that was more of a sentiment to that. I don't think any goaltender. Anderson somehow kept his numbers pretty solid during that. But, Comrie, before he got hurt, struggled, with that lack of depth on your blue line. You had 3 AHL defensemen playing, 20 minutes a night. And then, you had, even, UPL, who's really come on as of late. He was struggling too with that. His goals against average is a testament to that period in time where defensively we were a train wreck. It was bad. So, he's been battling, get those numbers back down with his play over the last 5-6 games. So, but again, they sit 4th in the Atlantic Division. And again, really trying to make a push in the new year, to really make themselves a competitor for a playoff spot for a wild card, I assume, at the beginning, at the end of the season. More comments. Can this team match the 308 goals of 05-06? That's going to be tough, man. I don't know about that. That's yeah, that was a special hockey team. That was a really, really, I'm not saying this isn't a special hockey team, but that was a really special hockey team. I mean, your third line was Derek Roy, Maxim Afinogenov, and Thomas Vanek. That's going to be a really, really tough, tough if that's your goal to match those goals for. That's going to be really tough. Excuse me. But I mean, it's not on the realm of possibility, but that was possibly the deepest team this organization, this franchise has ever had with Ryan Miller and net. That would be a tough call. I wouldn't put my money on it, but it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. More comments here. I'm at 0607, but still, 0607. It's still it doesn't change at all. I mean, your centers on those teams were, I want to say Tim Connolly was a center, or was he a winger? I can't remember. But you had Drury, Briere, Conley, Roy. Like, the depth down the middle on those teams were so insanely good. And that's why I've been a kind of a big advocate to go out and get another center for this team. Because as good as Dylan Cousins and Tage have been, you can never have too many good centermen. And I think if we're going to really make a push, that's the move I want to make is, as much as it'd be nice to get a Brock Besser, which I'm completely in favor for, to have another winger, I would love for them to go find another center, to give you a second and third line that can transition back and forth depending on the matchup, because I think, being deep down the middle is just as important as having, a bona fide top four defensive pairing. But I will take the 282 and 0506. Yeah, so will I. Conley was a center. Yes, that's what I thought. First and Ryan Johnson for Erik Karlsson. I mean, they would have to retain a lot of salary, but that's like a $10 million price tag for the rest of his contract. Only if San Jose is willing to take like half of that salary, even though we can afford it. That's not half, but that's a lot. Especially, I know he's come on this season, but he has dealt with a lot of injuries over the course of his career. So I know he's asked out. I believe they have another defenseman that they've been shopping too. It was announced today. If people want to refresh my memory in the peanut gallery there, let me know who it was. They put a guy in the trading block who's a defenseman. I can't remember his name. Gaustad and Hesh were centers too. I mean, yeah, the team was loaded down the middle. And we just drafted tons of centers. Yeah, absolutely. But some of those guys just aren't really ready to make that jump yet. Maybe next year. Like Yuri Kulik, Matthew Savoy, Noah Ostlund were the three we took in the last draft. You guys have like Isaac Rosine the year before. I'm not sure if he was a center or not, if he was a winger. But, there's a lot of depth on the middle going on the road. But I think that you should make a move for a center, either in season here in a couple of weeks if they continue to string some wins together, or at the deadline. Just my opinion. Ryan Merkley, yes. Ryan Merkley was just made available, and Verana out of Detroit was put on waivers as well. I think Verana would be a huge upgrade, as I know he's dealt with some, not to bring up some substance abuse, but I hear that he's gotten that all figured out. We all deal with demons, and I'm not going to shed any light on a player because he's dealt with demons and struggled. But, I believe is it Ryan Kessler who dealt with the same types of demons? I want to say it was Ryan Kessler. Or no, Bobby Ryan. It was Bobby Ryan. Sorry, not Ryan Kessler. Bobby Ryan dealt with a lot of issues as well, and he was, able to make a comeback. Which is why I'll never, discount a player for struggling internally. We all dealt with our own demons, and I'll never say a player is not worthy to play for my team because he's dealt with demons. Robert Verana, Ryan Merkley, I think it would be great additions to this team. The blue line, I know there's been so many rumors about Jacob Chikrin. They're being interested there at Kevin Adams to bring him to play on the opposite side of Owen Power. I would absolutely love that. And some other centers, if you guys have heard anything, in the rumor mill, that's where I'm at. Like, find me another center, find me another defenseman, and I think this team could really do some damage and make a legitimate playoff run, even though I feel that's what they've been doing right now. again, I just for me, I those are the two positions I would need to address. And the decision for Kevin Adams about goaltending. Once Eric Comrie is off this rehab assignment, I know he beat the Marley. They beat the Marlies, and he had played very well, made well over 30 saves. I think he only gave one goal in a win against the Marlies. There's a decision that you're going to have to make because Eric Comrie is on a one-way deal. You can't just send him back to Rochester once he's done with his rehab assignment. And I feel like you're going to have a lot of respect for Craig Anderson. You're not going to waive him. And I feel like the number of teams he would accept a trade to if they were interested are very, very small. He's gotten to a point in his age where I think he but questioned about coming back this season. And I think he was comfortable coming back to Buffalo for, the culture and the relationships he built here. So I think out of respect for a guy like Craig Anderson, you really had to sit back and really look at this whole situation. Like, what do I do? Because you just can't waive. I mean, you can waive Eric Comrie, but you're going to lose him for nothing, essentially, if by doing so. And I don't think he's played bad to the point where it justifies waiving him. But has UPL played too good to, not waive Eric Comrie? I don't know. So, and that's a tough decision for Kevin Adams to make. It really is. Tony DeAngelo, Alec Martinez. I like Alec Martinez. Tony DeAngelo, you got a lot of baggage there. I know I just said that I wouldn't discount a player for dealing with demons, but that guy has been a bad egg for a while. I don't know if I would want him in my locker room. But Alec Martinez, for sure, he's been a very solid defenseman in the league, without a doubt. I think that should be number one, finding a legitimate blue chip defenseman to play opposite Owen Power in your top four. I know that was supposed to be Lyubushkin. Maybe it will still be at some point. The season's not over, but I don't think he's lived up to that expectation yet. But if you can find a guy to play alongside Power and you slide down Lyubushkin to your third line with Yoki Haru when he's eventually ready to come back, and that puts Jacob Bryson back up in the press box, I think you're doing really well on your own blue line, 100%. I would love to get Alex Iafallo to come home. Who wouldn't, man? But I don't think he's leaving LA anytime soon. I believe he just signed a contract extension too. I think he would love to come home, especially who wouldn't, watching this team right now, not want to come play for it if you're from Buffalo. You have to imagine even Patrick Kane kind of looks at the situation like, Buffalo looks like a great place to play. Alex Tuck has really helped change the culture there. Don and Granato has really helped change the culture there. I mean, those guys, who are from this area, look at the situation and look at it as a good one. Do I think Patrick Kane's coming here this season? No. I don't think you should trade for Patrick Kane this season because it would cost way too much for a guy who's going to be a UFA in the offseason. That's what I say about Bo Horvat, too. I would love Bo Horvat, but he's probably going to demand at minimum $7 million a season. With this new contract, he's a UFA, and I'm not willing to trade a ton for, rental. I mean, if he's willing to sign an extension, I'm willing to listen to that. But Bo Horvat, typically if he had term left on his deal, that's the guy on top of my list. But again, maybe he would be willing to re-sign here, do a sign and trade. Who knows? Don Granato has ties to the Hawks too. Yes, he was an assistant coach there, 100%. But yeah, again, Sabres 19th win of the season on a very emotional night for the team, for the city of Buffalo, for many families in the city. So, going back to what took place last night during Monday Night Football between the Bills and the Bengals with Damar Hamlin. The league still hasn't announced when they'll play that game. Not that that matters right now at all. But it was postponed last night due to the catastrophic injury suffered by Damar Hamlin, where he collapsed in the field after taking a hit to the chest and needed CPR and AED on the field in order to stabilize his breathing. If we get Pat Kane, it would be a signing in the offseason, not a trade. Absolutely, I agree. No reason to trade for that guy. Fuck Patrick Kane. He comes with a lot of red flags as well. I would honestly trade Matt Savoy and a first for Matty Beniers. I love Matty Beniers. Both Eric Portillo and Owen Power, both on my pod, two goalies when Mike last year, and they all both had a lot of good things to say about Matty Beniers. So I would love to have a Matty Beniers in this hockey team. They could fit in really well. Team USA, baby, for sure. Tage with 3 goals tonight for his 3rd hat trick of the season. Scored exactly 3 minutes into 3-on-3 OT, a 3rd goal there on the January 3rd. Yeah, we talked about that earlier, Jeff. It's 100%, I think, an omen of good things to come, for Damar Hamlin and everything that took place last night with all those threes involved tonight. I think that is an omen of really good things to come. So again, we'll see. I guess I can only hope that is in fact the case. Sports are crazy. Absolutely they are. But they are crazy. But anything you guys want to talk about, I leave the platform open to you in the peanut gallery over here. I'm not really ready to call it quits tonight. Anybody who wants to leave a comment, their thoughts about the Damar Hamlin situation, what happened last night during Monday Night Football, tonight's hockey game, just thoughts and emotions. I leave the floor up to you guys. Again, would love to keep going here. We're about 36 minutes into the show, into the post-game show. I'll just go over the box score real quick just to give you guys a breakdown of tonight's game for both sides. Buffalo, 3 goals and an assist from Tage Thompson. That, for him, puts him at 30 goals on the season, and points-wise, that puts him at 55 points in 35 games for, I'm not sure what this plus minus would be, but here you want to see how tumultuous the times were before, I could say halfway through last season. Tumultuous it was. Even with how good Tage Thompson was last year and this year, he's still at a -4. Now, plus minus is a very finicky stat. Any analytic nerd will tell you, and it's true it is. It's a very misleading stat. But he's still a -45, even with the last 2 seasons he's had. So it kind of shows you how much in disarray this organization franchise was for years. When you have a guy scoring at the clip he's been scoring at for more than a full calendar year, for him to still be sitting at a -45, plus 12 on the season, that really goes to show how much in disarray this organization has been, for sure. Alex Tuck, who's been on an absolute, Jeff, I see your comment now. Have you talked about Tuck at all? Yeah, Tuck, nonstop hustle, a really high standard of joy to play hockey. 100% agree with you. Alex Tuck has been on an absolute heater. I mean, he is on pace. Last time I checked, he was on pace for over 90 points. He may be touching 100 points at this point. In wins this season, Alex Tuck now tonight with 19 wins. He's had 14 goals and 17 assists in 18 games for 31 points. And that's in 18 wins. In losses, obviously, only 11 points and 17 losses. But yeah, he's been an absolute terror to deal with. And over his last 5 games, he's had 3, 7, 8 points over his last 5 games. 3 goals and 5 assists. So he's been on an absolute tear along with Tage Thompson. A true leader in the room, in my opinion. Everyone knows who I think the next captain is. It's Alex Tuck. Really exemplifies what it means to be a Buffalo Sabre. You're not going to find anybody who's going to smile more than Alex Tuck whenever he puts that jersey on, whether it's the blue and gold or the goat head. That guy just lives and breathes and was born to be the captain of the Buffalo Sabres. Dylan Cousins and Rasmus Dahlin both with assists tonight. Tyson Yost getting on the score sheet with a goal, 3rd goal of the season. Nice to see him. Ilya Lyubushkin with a 3-game point streak with another assist tonight. Casey Middlestat, who, hasn't pissed me off at all with his play over the last month, with another assist tonight. Owen Power with an assist, and Jeff Skinner with an assist. And Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen UPL with 28 saves on 32 shots tonight, with some highlight reel glove saves. He was an absolute treat to watch all night. And then the Washington Capitals tonight, Sonny Milano with a goal and assist, Alex Ovechkin with 2 goals, and as he continues to chase the great one, Wayne Gretzky. Right now, he is at 808 goals. I believe the record is 894. So he inches closer with every goal to Wayne Gretzky at the young age of 37. Nick Dowd with a goal tonight. Matt Irwin with an assist. Jensen with an assist. Kuznetsov with an assist. Mantha with an assist. Connor Sheary, former Buffalo Sabre, with an assist as well. Darcy Kemper, 24 saves on 29 shots. Can't say I blame him for really any of the goals. I thought Sabres played extremely well in the offensive zone tonight. Made it hard for him to see pucks. Had him moving side to side constantly. And a complete night and day difference from when they played Ottawa the other night. I think Ottawa forced them into bad situations. They didn't give Buffalo much time to think when they had the puck, forcing Buffalo to make quick decisions, and they did not do well with making quick decisions against Ottawa their night. So tonight was much different. The Sabres played their style of hockey and didn't make those mental errors with the puck, even when faced with having to make a quick decision. That was the biggest thing for me against Ottawa and why they lost. Even though they didn't play a bad game, they ran into a hot goaltender in Anton Forsberg. But I thought, especially in the first period, Sabres were giving up the puck a lot because Ottawa was forcing them into small ice areas to make quick decisions, and they just were kept on giving the puck away. But neither here nor there. It's time to start another winning streak. Here we go from Matt Soda. I'd look at Luke Shen for the back end cheap. I actually don't hate that idea. Luke Shen, even at his age, has not had a bad last couple of years. Pair him with Power. I would agree with that. Right-handed, that'd be perfect for Owen Power. I think he might be a UFA too. Either that or he might even have just 1 year left on his deal. I love the idea of Luke Shen. That is not I know the guys in After the Whistle love the idea of Luke Shen too as well. I slept quite crap last night, tossed and turned all night with the TV on the whole time. I hate seeing this happen. And I've seen number 3 Dale Earnhardt die. Richard Zednik got his throat cut. Owen Hart die. Yeah, I was at the Richard Zednik game. I'll touch on that too real quick. I tweeted out last night that in Buffalo, not that this always happens to Buffalo, but we've kind of seen our fair share of things like this. Richard Zednik having his carotid artery cut. I was at that game. That was you could hear a pin drop in that area. And I could not believe that they finished that game, or even Florida watching their brother skate off the ice with blood pouring out of his neck, that they were able to finish that game. We've seen Kevin Everett, almost paralyzed on the field. Thank God for the first responders in Buffalo that day who were able to stabilize Kevin Everett and save his life. Before most of us were born, Clint Malarchuk, who we've had on this show twice, deal with having his throat cut. We all remember that image, those who know the situation, on his knees in his goal crease with blood pouring out of his neck. Many of us have seen that or haven't seen it or just know the situation, and the PTSD that he's dealt with after it to this day, and tried to take his own life twice after the fact, and is still alive, and has got his mental health under control with medication and being sober, because sometimes people aren't willing to go see a doctor because of the stigma that's around mental health and the PTSD that you deal with when you're in accidents like that. Be well aware that Damar Hamlin, those guys on the field, T. Higgins, are going to deal with that those images, and being a part of, especially those like T. Higgins being a part of that play. They're going to deal with some really mental trauma after that. Like T. Higgins, I'm sure him and his family, they are not doing well right now. And if anybody who tries to blame what happened last night on T. Higgins, seriously, go fucking sit on a pine cone. That man is dealing with a lot right now. And the last thing he needs is some idiot blaming him for what happened. I don't blame. Bart Scott tried to blame it on T. Higgins, and he can fucking say, go sit on a pine cone because, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, that wasn't on T. Higgins. It's for me, it's, those people who are going to deal with the trauma after the fact. I hope that they go get the help that they'll need and, not choose to face these things alone. That I think, if anything, Bills Mafia has shown over the last 24 hours is that it's okay to not be okay. And, I hope that we all deal with this in the correct manner, especially those who were directly involved with it and on the field when it happened. But yeah, it was tough. And then, now this, we've seen a lot of that in Buffalo, and it's unfortunate. So, Jake Madison, who do you think we pursue at the deadline? This team has clearly shown playoff capability, so we can be buyers, especially with our cap. Unlike previous years, we can use this buying strategy. Yeah, I said this on episode 112, 2 goalies, 1 Mike, me and Cully. No, actually, it was after the fact. We didn't record this. But the Sabres are in a position where they kind of weaponize their cap space. I'm not saying that you got to take on bad contracts for picks, because I'm not looking for picks right now. I'm not. I'm looking for players who are going to help this roster right now. Guys like Brock Besser, guys like Bo Horvat, guys like, I've said his name a couple times because I don't think he's having a bad year, and he's got 1 year left. Guys like Tyler Myers, who might come back to Buffalo, and he's playing well enough in Vancouver on a very bad Vancouver hockey team. And I think that would be serviceable on this team. I'm not advocating, I'm not leading the charge to go trade for Tyler Myers, but by taking on his contract and that of like another, maybe you can get, a Brock Besser or a Bo Horvat for much cheaper than you would normally. I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to really crunch those numbers and see how their contracts are broken up in terms of cap hit. I've had somebody mention to me that the way Tyler Myers' contract is structured, that the last year of his deal would actually only be a $1 million cap hit, which in case wouldn't be that big of a deal for Vancouver to lose that cap hit, because it would only be $1 million. I have to look at it. But again, I like that idea of Luke Shen. I think he would be a very serviceable player on this team. And again, the big name on everybody's list is Jacob Chychrun. I have to agree. Jacob Chychrun is on a great deal. I think it's like $4.5 million a year for the next 2 seasons after this. And he would fit perfectly. He would make our top 4, our top, honestly, all 3 when healthy. We'd be so dominant, in my opinion. Dahlin and Samuelson, Owen Power and Chychrun. And you'd have Lyubushkin and Yoki Haru as your third pairing, playing 12, 13, 14, 15 minutes a night. And then you're anchored by those top 4. I think that would improve your team so much, just from a depth perspective. To be able to slide those 2 guys down to your bottom pairing, I think 100%. You'd have to be crazy not to think that would be that wouldn't be great here in Buffalo. In terms of trade, I like the idea of Max Domi. I think Max Domi would do really well here in Buffalo. I'm not sure what type of contract he's on. I think he was part of that trade that sent Josh Anderson to Montreal and Max Domi to Columbus. I'm not sure if there's much term left. I look at a guy like Max Domi, who I think would fit really well in here in Buffalo. I think he'd be a perfect fit in that locker room. But, you look at some of the guys that are on the trade bait list, so to speak. Again, sorry, we got an ad here. Bo Horvat, as I mentioned before, Jacob Chychrun, Brock Besser. You have two Vancouver Canucks in your top 3 there. Timo Meier. That's a tough one. There's a lot that's gonna be coming out of San Jose. I think that with San Jose putting Merkley on the trade block too, I think they're really just looking to unload as much cap as they can. They're going full steam ahead, maybe to try and be in the lottery conversation for Connor Bedard, who is absolutely making history right now in the World Junior Tournament. I'm not sure how many points he's at right now. Maybe somebody in the peanut gallery. I do know he overtook number 1 from Eric Lindros for top scoring player and for top Canadian scoring player at World Junior history. I forget the other player that held that spot too. Maybe one of you guys. It was a tie between Lindros and this player. And Connor Bedard took over number 1. Other guys, like we mentioned earlier, Erik Karlsson. I think that's a huge contract. He has $11.5 million cap hit. That's astronomical. Like San Jose would absolutely have to retain half of that contract for the remainder of it. And Buffalo can do that too. That would be a huge addition to this team, even at his age. I believe he's like 32, 33 years old. I think if you're looking to make a run, he would absolutely help you immensely. Jesse Puljujärvi in Edmonton, he's always seems to be in the trade conversations, always seems to be in the rumor mill. Another guy too that you maybe to keep an eye on. I'm not saying here in Buffalo, but he's always seems to be on the trade block. Even though I think he performs pretty well to the standard of what he's being paid. John Klingberg, another one. He's in Anaheim now, former Dallas Stars defenseman. James Van Riemsdyk, and again, more names like Anthony Duclair and Max Domi come up too as well. I'm a big advocate for Max Domi. Nothing's, so not much has gone right for the Blackhawks this season, but Domi has played well after signing a 1-year deal. I thought he was with Columbus. Am I wrong? Am I wrong on that? I could have swore he was with Columbus. Or maybe he was with Columbus when was traded to the Blackhawks. I could be wrong on that. I'm embarrassed if I am. Whoops. There's a lot of names. I'm a big Max Domi fan. If he's on a 1-year deal, kind of prove it deal with wherever he's at, I absolutely bring him into this locker room. I think Don Granato would do wonders with Max Domi, 100%. So more comments here. Wow, 3rd goal of the season for Yost, and UPL only let in 3 goals. This is the greatest running stat line I've ever seen. Agreed. 100%. So, but with that being said, no, it was 5-4. It wasn't. He let in 4 goals, right? I apologize if I'm wrong with that. I believe. One second here. It was 5-4. Yes, 5-4. Yeah, so he let in 4 goals. But he can't have number 2 though. It was 4 goals. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, it's 4 goals. It was at a Bills game when Kevin Everett had his injury and his career ended, and how much it shook the team to its fan base. Yeah, and again, especially, I'm glad they called that game last night. I thought it was bullshit that they tried to tell each team 5 minutes and get back out on the field. That's why I'm so thankful to have Sean McDermott as our coach, and hats off to Zach Taylor too for going to the Bills sideline and saying, hey, let's just call this and get these guys to the locker room. They shouldn't have been on the field to begin with the emotions they were going through, being visual on national TV during that. Nobody needs to be subjected to that. 21 points. Thank you, Jake. Domi is with the Kings. Is he with the Kings? No. Dude, I am so behind. 1 second. Max Domi is with Chicago. Okay, so he was with Chicago. But I think he was previously with the Blue Jackets too, was he not? Wasn't he not part of that wasn't he not part of that Josh Anderson trade? I want to say that he was. Yeah, he was. He was part of the Josh Anderson trade, and then he signed a 1-year deal with Blackhawks, which is great term and value for a guy like him. Again, I'm a big advocate for Max Domi. Bring him into this locker room. 24 points in the last 36 games this season. I could definitely get on board with bringing Max Domi into this team, into this locker room. Would you trade 1-for-1 Mitz if his gameplay drops off for Comfer? I don't think at all that Colorado would trade Comfer away. Then they just signed him to an extension, did they not? Like a pretty sizable extension as well. I was always bummed out when JT Comfer was part of that Ryan O'Reilly deal. And there's another guy who's been on the trade block too. In trade rumors, Ryan O'Reilly. People thought maybe he'd make his return to Buffalo. Maybe he'd want to come back to Buffalo and play for Don Granato. I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't want to and try and revamp his career and, right some wrongs here in Buffalo. I mean, I wouldn't be against it. Again, anything to fill out and give us more depth down the middle. And hopefully it would work this time around. I don't know. But with that being said, guys, we're almost running an hour here. I love talking hockey, especially as a distraction for what's happened in the last 24 hours. Really feel honored and privileged to be on with you guys tonight. You guys helping me get through this. The Sabres giving me a couple hours of a distraction, so to speak, for what took place last night, and then to have to be able to talk about those events tonight with you guys, and really have this all come full circle tonight, and with everything and how it all went down with tonight's win, and how the Tage Thompson with 3 at 3 minutes of overtime for his third hat trick for his 30th this season on January 3rd during 3-on-3 overtime. You can find the threes everywhere. And I'm so on board with that being a positive omen for the team, for Damar Hamlin going forward. 100%. I'm just in awe with the outpouring of support for Damar Hamlin and his family and the Bills and this community, and happy and privileged again to be talking to you guys about it. So that being said, this has been I'll Hang Up and Listen. A couple less comments here. Comfer will be a UFA. I could have swore. Oh, you know what? Is it Comfer? No, who was it? No, never mind. I was wrong. No, it was Comfer wasn't signed to the extension. No, it was who was the player from San Jose that we did want instead of Tage Thompson? That was the guy who just sent Rob Thomas. Is it Rob Thomas? Or Thomas? Something Thomas, right? He signed a hefty extension after the season that he had. It was not Comfer. I would absolutely take Comfer. I think he's a very solid two-way center. Absolutely. I was in love with JT Comfer. I think he's I think he's still, even with the position he's played with Colorado, still a phenomenal hockey player. I think he would fit well into this locker room. And I think he's a U.S. kid too. Maybe Don Granato might have some experience with him. You are helping us too, man. I appreciate that. I do. I appreciate you guys giving me your time and allowing me to spew my nonsense and my thoughts onto you. I love doing these post games. Bummed out when I can't on some occasions. But I'm here with you guys through this, again, through everything that's, taken place, to this community over the last 24 hours. I'm here with you. I'm glad you're here with me. And all I can say is continue to show support for Damar Hamlin and his family. Again, I can't state enough, the family that lost 5 children in Buffalo in that house fire, please stand by them just as much as we are for Damar Hamlin, because they suffered a loss greater than any family should ever have, losing one child, let alone 5 in one fight in a fire. Please go show support. I'll tweet out that link for the GoFundMe again. Please make sure you guys get on that and continue to show support to that family. Last time I checked, there was a little over $46,000 raised, but in my opinion, that's not nearly enough, to help give them relieve them of the financial burden that they're about to, go through with funeral costs, everything that's going to go, financially, it's going to be a burden on them going forward. If we can do anything to relieve some of that, I know this community can do it. And please make sure that you help in any way you can. And for the 49 dead from the blizzard we just had, absolutely. I kind of so much has happened in Buffalo over the last year, man. Between May 14th, we did our Best of Buffalo Strong Hockey Tournament to help support those families. You know, the blizzard with 49 lives lost there. Damar Hamlin, this house fire for these people that lost their lives in that. Just, it's gut wrenching, man. This has not been a good year at all. You know, not a great way to start the new year. I just hope it gets better. I really, really do. And I'm glad that I have you guys to, you know, work out these emotions with. And again, yep, in the top shooting May 14th. But with that being said, Paramount Pictures, I know you love hearing that. I'll hang up and listen. Please remember this is brought to you by Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case over on Georgia Run Boulevard. Make sure on all your game day and game night needs, get over to Outlet Liquor. Tell them Duane from Two Goalies One Mike sent you. You know, they'll take care of you. And go Sabres, go Bills, be Hamlin strong. Good night.